And so I'd really love for us to share in a bit of a pranayama focus class today. So that will be our focus. So I think if you don't mind, Penny, we'll just do a bit of alignment to start. I haven't done that for a while. So if we just come onto hands and knees, just before we come into some pranayama. And so just rock backwards and forwards a few times. Just come into your body, just at your own pace. So we inhale to come forwards and exhale to come back. You might like to pause in child's pose or just keep rocking. And really do this until you feel like you've arrived in the session. And if you need to keep going while I'm talking, that's fine. And so I just like to demonstrate, Penny will please, the alignment between our anterior superior iliac spines, which is our hip bones at the front that stick out for some of us, depending on your pelvis, and your sit bones or ischial tuberosities at the back. Great, that's good, Pens. You just come back onto hands and knees, and we just have a little play with this. So you might like to actually press into your own, just so you have a sense of where they are. And then on hands and knees, just see if you can close your eyes, if that's okay for you, and feel into both at the same time. Now, they're obviously not in line, either horizontally or vertically. And if you just really almost microscopically tilt your pelvis forwards and backwards a little, and just see if that helps you feel into both. I know I've got quite an experienced class, Savo, so you've probably all done this before, so we won't spend long here. And then we'll just see if you can hold in balance for a moment. And just see what muscles this engages for you. If you're aware of any muscles that are engaged. And so Penny's got quite beautiful alignment. For me, I can really feel this in my abs because my tendency is to allow my pelvis to tilt forwards a little when I'm at rest. That can just give you a tip as to what your kind of your automatic posture is and how it might be different. Once you've got a sense of that, just come up a little higher, and we'll just do some cat curls to start. So bringing the balls of your feet to the floor, chest forwards, and exhale and rounding your spine towards the ceiling. And just repeat this a couple more times. As many times as you need to. And then just keep going while I'm talking if you need to. And Penny would just show us the xiphoid process, which is at the bottom of your sternum. It's a little bone that's like the tail of your sternum. And then T12 at the back, your vertebra, and it sort of sits where your bra strap might sit, just before the lumbar curve. And so if we just come back onto hands and knees, just see again if you can feel into both of these points simultaneously. And again, you might need to just really gently move in the direction of the cat curls, just to come and see where you can feel them the most. And again, just notice if you're any muscles are drawing your attention. And that might indicate where you have to put a little bit of extra effort and to have that alignment. Okay, I'll just get Penny to sit. Can you just kneel for me, Pens? We're going to do Arahan and Awarahan, or the figure eight pathway breath. And I've only taught this a couple of times online because it's a bit tricky when I can't see everybody. So I just get Penny to point out the points so that, and you can either bring your attention or even press into them as well with your hand, so that you know once we start, just to remind you. So pelvic floor, don't worry, Pens. That's where we start. And on the inhalation, we breathe up the front of the body, all the way to the clavicle notch, or jugular notch is sometimes called. And then our breath goes through the neck up to the bindu point on the back of the head, where your posterior fontanelle was when you were a baby. And then it comes up, Brahmarandra at the top of the head, and then drops into the midbrain, or ajna. So that's a point backwards from where your eyebrows meet, and upwards from where your soft palate is in your mouth, in your throat. And then on the exhalation, we drop down to C7, which is the cervical vertebra that sticks out the most, if you feel on yourself. And then we exhale all the way out down the back of the body and come back to the pelvic floor. Okay, so we might set up to do that now. So just choosing a really comfortable seat. You can also do this lying down if that's what suits you this afternoon. Just make sure you can allow your pelvis to tilt a little bit anteriorly, but still retaining that balance that we demonstrated in ourselves before. And that balance is sattva. And you might like to close your eyes. Exhale all the way out. And pressing into your feet, you feel your Mula Bandha engage. That's your pelvic floor, and that's the place that we'll start from. And many of you know this practice well, so please proceed at your own breath pace. Just to remind others, we'll talk through a few rounds. Just starting on your next inhalation, allow the breath to come in the front of the body all the way up to the jugular notch, crossing through the neck to Bindu, up to Brahmarandra and into the midbrain. And on your exhalation, the breath goes all the way out. We'll go back to C7 and down the back of the body to the pelvic floor. Breath turns to come in. Inhale up the front of the body, jugular notch around to Bindu, Brahmarandra and into Ajna. And exhale down to C7, down the back of the body to the pelvic floor. And we inhale up the front of the body into Ajna. And exhale down the back of the body. Inhale at the front of the body, into the midbrain, and exhale to C7 down the back of the body and back to pelvic floor. And just continue on for a few more rounds at your own breath pace. Feeling the sweep of the inhalation as it curves at the top, and the sweep of the exhalation curves at the bottom. And continue on for a few more breaths. Arahan as we ascend, and Warahan with the exhalation as we descend. Inspiration is opening. Exhalation is releasing and letting go. Just pay attention to whether you're forcing the breath. Instead, see if you can let go effort and just settle into your natural rhythm. Do one more round. Ending at the bottom of your next exhalation. And as you bring your hands to heart center, with some curiosity, just check in on those alignment points. Arahan and Warham's a really balancing posture. And sometimes if we can't feel or sense or see a certain part of the pathway, just changing these alignment points can help sometimes. We'll set an intention now. If one doesn't immediately spring to mind, perhaps consider which parts of your life need more balance. Or consider dedicating your practice to someone. And we'll inhale together for one Om to open class. Beautiful. I'm just going to fold forwards from where you are to start. Just on your exhale, walking your hands forwards. And if you'd like to, just continuing that figure eight pathway. Maybe ask which part of it is the easiest to sense in this position. Inhale from up from pelvic floor, curling at the top into the midbrain. And exhale from C7 down the back of the body. On your next inhalation, just walking your hands back towards your hips. And we'll just cross the other ankle in front, which might be quite different for you. So just go gently, walking your hands out. And you might need to use some props. And reconnecting with the flow of Arahan and Awarahan. And I think you're all familiar with the idea that the breath is the only autonomic function in our bodies that we have some influence over. You know, we can't really change our blood pressure or our heart rate, though some adepts can. But we can immediately change our breath. And lots of us do, depending on what's going on for us. We hold our breath, or we increase our breath in our fight, flight, or freeze, our sympathetic activation. And we just walk our hands back towards our hips. And just placing your hands either palm down or up on your knees, and just take a moment, come back into alignment between your ischial tuberosities and your anterior superior iliac spines and your xiphoid process and T12. And just take a step back in your mind and just observe what your breath is doing this afternoon. And we'll come into our next posture, Anahatasana. Sorry for my croaky voice. So I'd really love everyone to use a bolster or a cushion or a blanket, whatever you've got at home for this one. And parallel to the front of the mat, and just walking your hands out in front of the bolster, allowing your chest to rest against the bolster. It's uncomfortable for you to put your head down, and just make sure the bolster's quite high on your chest, and then just pop something under your forehead. Check in with your alignment and just make sure that you can still feel into your ischial tuberosities and into T12. And then allow your exhalation to go out. And come back to Arahan and Awarahan. So our breath then is this sort of exquisite gift, I guess, that when we pay attention to it, it can tell us what is happening in our bodies, what our internal state is. Then at the same time, we can, by influencing our breath, influence our internal state. And this beautiful flow or dance between the two. And you guys know that I love etymology, and the word flow comes from the Old English flowen, which means abound, flourish, thrive, to be alive with. And when we get this beautiful balance in our breath, that's just what we can do. Flourish and thrive, our natural state. And if your mind's really busy, just come back to the pathway. Inhaling inspiration up the front of the body and exhaling down the back of the body. And just walking your hands back towards the bolster when you're ready. And coming to sit on your knees, dominant hand in non-dominant hand, and just basking in the effects of that posture. Which, as a chest opener, emphasizes the Arahan, the pathway, which is energizing. And when you're ready, and just please take your time, just going to move backwards onto our feet into a squat, Malasana. Now, lots of you will need, excuse me, something under your bottom, like a block or a bolster. And as you settle in, just make sure there's no sensation in your knees. If there is, just come forward onto your forefoot and perhaps put a rolled blanket under your heels. And just coming back to the pathway, you might notice that Awarahan is clearer or louder or more obvious to you in this posture. And rounding our spine like we are is a tamasic posture, or quietening, comforting. If your mind's still busy, that's okay, that's normal. Just feel into your feet, the 3 points of your feet, the base of the big toe, the base of the little toe, and the point in the midline at the back of your heel. And feel into these points in both feet. If Arahan and Awarahan isn't suiting you today as a focus, then connecting with the points of your body that are in touch with the ground is an alternative. Because sometimes we don't need movement, we need stillness, stability, security. And we're going to transition now into caterpillar. So if you can, you might want to put your hands behind you or just rocking back onto your bottom. I'm going to continue our forward bending. If you've got really tight hamstrings, a rolled up blanket under your knees is a good idea. And then inhaling Arahan up the front of the body and moving forwards, exhaling Arahan as you fold forwards. It's a great idea. Depends if you've got something that you can lean on, your bolster or block, or folding a pillow under your head. Just allow your body to completely relax.
I'll show you something cool.
Penny's going to show us something cool, she said. Oh, that's great. It's a good technique. It's a bit like having dinner in a hospital bed.
We'll try.
Yeah. Whichever posture you're choosing, see if you can relax your skeletal muscles now. So your abdominal muscles, the front and the back of your legs, muscles around your shoulder girdle. And just allow your palms to open and your neck muscles to rest. And then here now, focus of stretch is the connective tissue, the fascia, ligaments, tendons. And in order for the stretch to move into our connective tissue, we have to relax our skeletal muscles. Coming back to Arahan and Awarahan, if you'd like to. Sensing how flow is between two opposites. In the teaching of yoga, we call these forces Rajas and Tamas. Rajas is sort of our active, animated force. And Tamas is more our resting, quiet force. And Sattva is the balance between the two. Not forced, it's not something that can be actively pushed for, but rather comes as a result of balancing the Rajas and Tamas. So in the figure eight pathway, Arahan, inhaling up the front of the body, is Rajasic, opening, lifting, energizing. And Awarahan is Tamasic. And Caterpillar is continuing that calming, soothing, resting effect. And in Pada 2 of the Yoga Sutras, excuse me, Sthira Sukhan Asanam, comment is made about the dance or the play between these two forces as being an essential component of our practice. Strength and ease. On your next inhalation, we just walk up and come onto our knees again, just to pause and just using a blanket under your knees or your ankles if you need to. And some people find it more comfortable to have their knees wide. And if you're not comfy in this position, perhaps just play a bit with that. Or rolling something up under your bottom. And we're going into camel next. And just please encourage you, if you're not used to this posture, just to watch Penny's demonstration, because I can't see everyone's alignment. So we've just set up on our knees like so. And just with your Arahan, just really lengthening your spine and pay particular attention to your anterior superior iliac spines and your ischial tuberosities, and making sure these are in alignment. And then the tendency is to stick out through as if a sternum, but just see if you can keep that T12 xiphoid process balance as well as you reach your hands back. Most of us will need a bolster on our ankles. And then bring a beautiful arc through the spine. And as you sink into the posture, you might like to go a little deeper and loosen props, or otherwise it's not suiting you today, please just come out and into child's pose. If this is okay for your body, we just stay here a little longer. And if you've got the space in your brain, we'll return to Arahan and Awarahan. Inhaling the front of the body, xiphoid process, jugular notch to the back of the head and down to Ajna. Exhaling the back of the body, C7, T12 to the pelvic floor. And just repeat this a few more times. And feeling how another chest opener, this is a Rajasic posture. And if this play between Rajasic, Tamasic, it's been interesting for you today, you can choose your favorite posture of each, and as you need to, use it in your day. And Camel's quite good for that 3 o'clock slump. And we all feel like chocolate, or I do anyway. And just complete one more breath cycle here. And making sure you engage your core, so your abdominal muscles, pelvic floor lifts as you come back up and down onto your knees, and into child's pose if you'd like to straight away, or just pause on your knees. And exhale all the way out. And when you're ready, come into child's pose. In your own time, we just lie on our backs and come into a twist before Shavasana. And just pause on your back and just see if you need to put anything under your knees. And sensing into your heels, your calves, your bottom, your upper back and the back of your head. And then bringing your right ankle onto left knee. Yeah, thanks. Lifting up your bottom and over to the right, and just allowing your legs to go to the left. I know our online classes aren't long, but just wonder if you've allowed for some sattva and can sense into some sattva in your body now. When you're ready, we'll just bring our legs back to midline. And we'll change sides. So left ankle onto right knee, bottom up and over to the left. And twisting, bottom up and over to the right, and twisting to the left. Really luxuriate in a sense of ease now. Twists are beautiful balancing postures. And we'll come into Shavasana now. If you'd like to do an alternative, please go ahead. You might Knee downward Shavasana today, or Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. Just listening into your body and what feels right. And please use lots of props. Put a blanket over you. Oh, allowing yourself to melt into the floor. Feet heavy, legs heavy, body resting down, hands heavy, head heavy. Allow your ears to melt. Your eyes to rest. Smooth and calm. Om Bu, Om Bhuva, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Murvaswaha, Tatsavitu Varenyam, Magodevatiadimahi, Diyona Prachodayam. Apo Raso Jyoti Ananda Raman. Please indulge in stillness and rest a little longer if you can. If you need to, just start to bring a bit more breath into your body, making some gentle movements, stretching out or curling in. And in your own time, come to one side and just pause there before coming up to sitting. Wishing you all a week that flows. We'll inhale for one Om to close the class. Namaste. Thanks, Pens. Thank you, everybody.